What do you at? It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. I'm from the future. You see, you weren't here yet. This is you, and greetings from the future. I'll be there in a minute. Second. There I am. You see? Now you've caught up with me. But you haven't because I'm in the future. What a strange concept. Greetings. It is the first of the month, and I started out the day with a bang. I really did. I started the day with a bang. What do you at, Asterix? What do you at? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Asterix is not there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 saying hello to Asterix. I started the day with a bang, literally. I don't know what happened. I was going down the stairs this morning and I was fully awake. I guess I wasn't. I don't know, but I was going down the stairs and I was all chipper and happy. And when I got to what I thought was the bottom step, I just jumped off the bottom step, but I was on the third step. I don't know where my head was, but I leapt off the third step. And you know what it's like when you expect to land and you don't. And I crumpled into the hall closet, and I was hurt pretty good. And I'm still not 100% over it. It really hurt my hip. Anyway, it's not too bad. Nothing to go to A&E over. It is the first of the month. Did anyone figure out where this place is? Did anyone figure out where our Where Is It photo is? It's what we're going to talk about today in a roundabout way. It was this place here. Where is it? So we'll get to that in a minute or two. Our Where Is It photo. Yeah, oh no is right. Um, so today in history, the 1st of October, yay! I didn't start it off very well, so I hope it's not a portent of what's to come. Anyway, today in history, in 1569, Queen Elizabeth I had Thomas Howard, the fourth Duke of Norfolk, arrested for his involvement in a conspiracy to marry Mary, Queen of Scots, and to place her on the English throne. The Duke was eventually executed for treason in 1572 for his continuing role in this and related plots, including the Ridolfi plot. I've never heard of that. I'll have to check that out. Which aimed to restore Catholicism in England. And this is kind of related to our Where Is It photo as well. On this day in history, a man who spent some time here in Manchester. In 1867, Karl Marx published, on this day in history, Karl Marx published the first volume of Das Kapital, a foundational work that critically analyzed the capitalistic system. Marx argued that capitalism inherently relies on the exploitation of labor, creating surplus value for capitalists and leading to class conflicts and instability. He posted that these internal contradictions and tensions would ultimately drive the system towards self-destruction, paving the way for a new socialist mode of production. And ironically, on this day in history, considering that day in history, talk about capitalism, on October 1st, 1908, Henry Ford introduced the Model T car, priced at $825. The Model T was designed to be mass-produced and affordable, making it accessible to the general public and transforming car ownership from a luxury to a common form of transportation. And that's a story I'm working on as well about the Ford plant here in Greater Manchester. in where the Trafford Centre is now. There's a blue plaque in the Trafford Centre where the commemorating the Ford plant there. And of course, our old friend Oswald Mosley, we were talking about a couple of days ago. Cheatham's Library is worth a visit. Yes, I've been to Cheatham Library, and I think there was something going on at the time, and I didn't get to go inside. I don't know why I couldn't get inside, but there was some event going on, open to the public event. I don't know if I showed up late or something, but anyway, I didn't get to go inside and check the place out. And I haven't yet, but yeah, definitely a place I have to check out. Cheatham Library, where Marx and Engels apparently worked on the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital and all those communist books. But on this day, Oswald Mosley formed the British Union of Fascists on October the 1st, 1932. This happened after his disillusionment with mainstream politics and a trip to Italy, where he met with fascist dictator Benito Mussolini. Mosley established the BUF after his previous party, the New Party, failed to win any seats in the 1931 general election. So that was a strange thing to happen in this country, but it almost looks like these things are happening again, doesn't it? And on this day in history, Winston Churchill made this quote. We were talking a while ago about Churchill being attributed with the quote that history is written by the victor, but apparently there's no evidence that Churchill ever said history is written by the victor, or not the first one to say it anyway. Winston Churchill famously described Russia as a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma during a BBC radio broadcast on October 1st, 1939. And he was trying to explain Russia and the non-aggression pact with the Nazis. So he was First Lord of the Admiralty at the time, and the full quote will make more sense of it. "I cannot forecast to you the action of Russia. It is a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma, but perhaps there is a key. That key is Russian national interest." And so, yeah, basically, they were trying to keep Germany out of their hair, and it only worked for a while. And they ended up joining the war when Hitler invaded, right? So that is another attachment to our Where Is It photo. Where is it? Well, it is, I have to switch cameras here so we can get over to our other screen. It's this place. You guys should know where this place is. I should know where this place is, but I don't. I didn't know much about it until today or last night or the day before, whenever it was. I looked it up. Let's get in.
The dinner to mark a century of Prime Ministers living at Chequers is unlikely to be the cheerful celebration the mansion's trustees were hoping for. 4 of the living premiers, Cameron, Brown, Blair and Major, have turned down their invitations. That leaves just Boris Johnson and Theresa May to glower at
So obviously this is a few years ago.
each other. The last time the two met there was for the Chequers Cabinet Summit on the EU negotiations. Johnson, who was Foreign Secretary, resigned shortly afterwards, along with David Davis, ultimately helping to bring about Mrs May's downfall from office. Whatever the tensions between them, all Prime Ministers have come to love the country house that goes with the job. What they call this House of Peace was first given to the nation after World War I by Lord Lees, one of Lloyd George's ministers, and his rich American wife, explicitly for the rest and recreation of her prime ministers. For years, Chequers was used for just that, relaxation with its tennis court, rolling grounds and swimming pool, and for private entertainment of cronies and political allies.
So yeah, it was donated to, who was it? Lloyd George was the first prime minister there, I think. And they were starting to have normal people, I guess, normal, more working class, not landed gentry prime ministers. And they didn't have country estates to entertain foreign leaders and whatnot. So it was donated because the common man prime minister didn't have an estate to entertain foreign leaders and whatnot.
Artist Winston Churchill is said to have taken his brushes to improve the depiction of a mouse on an oil painting by Rubens hanging on the wood-panelled walls. Margaret Thatcher usually spent Christmas there and liked to use visits to what she called Chequers Church for impromptu sound bites. Early in the job, a bruised and over-made-up Tony Blair had to get special permission from the trustees to use it for work. A TV interview after Labour accepted a £1 million donation from Formula One. Since then, an invitation to Chequers has become the biggest honour the Prime Minister can bestow on visiting foreign leaders. Blair held his final meeting with outgoing President Clinton there. Angela Merkel liked the Buckinghamshire countryside so much, she asked for a repeat visit. President Xi was so taken by the beer in the nearby Plough pub that he joked about buying it. John Major often tells how he turned up with Boris Yeltsin before opening time, and the landlord refused to believe the Russian president was banging on the door. Theresa May did her best to preserve decorum when she entertained the unpredictable Donald Trump in the House and Garden. The taxpayer contributes £916,000 a year towards the upkeep of Chequers, but the Prime Minister has to pay for food, drink and entertainment themselves. Some of them, including Boris Johnson, have complained about the cost of playing the host. Still, most Prime Ministers and their wives consider Chequers to be one of the best perks of the job. John Major's wife, Norma, even wrote a book about it. Her husband isn't going, but Dame Norma will be at the centenary dinner tonight, perhaps trying to keep the peace between Boris Johnson and Mrs May. The dinner.
There we go. I have another little video from much more recently with Trump's latest visit, and there's some interesting little tidbits about Chequers here.
I've been taken on a behind-the-scenes tour of Chequers as it's never been seen before. Let's go inside. Nobody is allowed to sit in this chair, apart from last time somebody, of course, did. Look closely, because it's a door. This 16th century mansion has been the official countryside residence of British Prime Ministers for over 100 years. Welcome to Chequers, as it's very rarely been seen by the public before. Almost empty, because preparations for Donald Trump's state visit have been going on for weeks. This is one of the most...
Where is that accent from? The presenter there. Do you guys recognize that accent? Is it from around these parts?
Significant buildings in modern British political history. Prime Minister after Prime Minister have stood on these steps to welcome world leaders, from President Nixon to President Donald Trump, from Mikhail Gorbachev to Vladimir Putin. This latest state visit, Trump's second, is said to be the biggest the UK has ever hosted. Prime Minister Starmer used this room to impress Trump with a collection of Winston Churchill's former possessions. And this was his chair. And nobody is allowed to sit in this chair, apart from last time somebody, of course, did.
The gall of that man. It does sound Mancunian, doesn't it? It does. I think it is. I don't know the guy, but yeah, it does sound Mancunian. I saw that in a movie recently. Somebody at Checkers saying you're not allowed to sit in that chair. I don't know if I'm getting it confused with the King's Speech where he sits in the coronation throne, but I don't think so. I remember seeing it in a movie recently. No one's allowed to sit in that chair, in Churchill's chair. I can't remember, but it's something I've seen recently anyway.
It was another wartime leader, Lloyd George, who was the first prime ministerial resident of Chequers after Conservative MP Sir Arthur Lee gifted it to the nation in 1917, deciding prime ministers would make better decisions if they breathed the high and pure air of the surrounding countryside. This room is reserved for a private meeting between Prime Minister Starmer and President Trump. Nobody else was in this room, no advisors, no officials. It's where Starmer was planning to press Trump for more US investment into the UK. Now this room is pretty impressive. All those beautiful paintings, all of these fancy books, especially these books. Look closely, because it's a door. The UK does pomp and ceremony like no other. But last-minute final preparations like this are also critical to a state visit. This marquee was set up to host a business reception, with Starmer keen to show off about that record £150 billion investment. The UK and the US are said to have a special relationship, and Keir Starmer will be hoping that by displaying photos like this, he reminded Donald Trump of just that. It's unclear whether that charm offensive has worked on Trump. But, as Margaret Thatcher once said, nobody could stay at Chequers for long without falling in love with it. It worked for her.
Mr. Gorbachev and the Prime Minister appeared to get on well together.
After hosting the Soviet Union's Mikhail Gorbachev, the Iron Lady famously declared this was a man she could do business with. Only time will tell if today's visit makes Trump genuinely feel the same about Starmer. Lewis Dennison, ITV News, Chequers.
So interesting. Yeah, I think that is a Mancunian accent. I find that northern Manchester accent a little hard to understand, and I was thinking about it when I was listening to it. Back in the early days of broadcasting, television broadcasting, a lot of the broadcasters were Canadian in the United States because it was an unidentifiable, now not my accent, I have a Newfoundland accent, and not a strong Newfoundland accent at that, until I get like 7 or 8 beers in me, and then my accent comes out a little more. But when you the Canadian accent is, as people say, a little softer than the American accent, and they chose Canadians to be the anchors of a lot of these American news shows when TV first started. They chose Canadians because the Northerners didn't think they were Southerners, and the Southerners didn't think they were Northerners. There's still a lot of animosity between the North and the South in America, and so it was an unidentifiable accent, and that's why they chose Canadians to. I can't think of their name. I think Mike Wallace, one of the early broadcasters. I think he's Canadian. Can't remember, but the guys of that era, in the 50s when television first got going in the United States. A lot of the anchors were Canadian. Anyway, I digress again. What was I going to show you? We finished with that. Oh, I was going to show, because we were talking about the Asterix was asking about the thing on the hill, or somebody mentioned the thing on the hill, and I had a look. Is this where I want to go? No, I want to go. I want to go to this one. Hang on, no. I've got that new screen set up, so I have to figure out how to get there now. There we go. This one. So there is Chequers. We're on Google Maps here now, and the thing up on the hill is just here. It's the Coombe Hill Monument. And that's a video, unfortunately. I looked at that earlier. It's a video with music in it, unfortunately. Let's see if we can put our little yellow man down on the ground here and look at it. I think we can. There we go. So yeah, and as I was saying, it looks like a war memorial, and indeed it is. Indeed it is a war memorial. It is the Coombe Hill Monument. Interesting. I'm glad you pointed this out, because I wouldn't have known this, and it's an interesting thing that I hope I get to see someday, because it's the first war memorial to individual soldiers. Before this, there were monuments to great men, admirals and generals and whatnot, but this is the first time the regular man was recognized on a monument. And it's the Second Boer War. It was erected in 1904 by public subscription in memory of 148 men from Buckinghamshire who died during the Second Boer War. And it was hit by lightning not long ago. And no, sorry, 1938. And it was a long time in disrepair. So that's interesting. I hope to get down that way someday and check that out. That's quite interesting. The first real war memorial that recognized the regular soldiers. And I think it says it's the highest one in the country as well. So that's definitely something to check out. Another thing I wanted to show you, get back to the other screen, is that the one I want to be on? No, I want to be on this one. Still getting used to these, flipping through different. This one here, I'm just going to play this while I tell you the story. Because because there's some really interesting history behind Chequers. Um, it's a 16th century manor house, as they said, and the origin of the name is the first guy was Elias Del Chequer. The first recorded member of the family was an usher at the King's Exchequer, hence his name, Del Chequer. So that's how it got its name. The current house was built by William Hawtrey. Lady Mary Grey, younger sister of Lady Jane Grey and great-granddaughter of Henry VII. And there's a story, a lot of descendants of grandson of Oliver Cromwell. And there's a story about no, it's not here, but there's a I believe was it Queen Mary was here, or Elizabeth herself? Yes, there we go. The current house was built by another William Hawtrey around 1565, possibly by reconstructing an earlier building. A reception room in the house bears his name today. Soon after its construction, Hawtrey acted as a custodian at Chequers for Lady Mary Grey, younger sister of Lady Jane Grey and great-granddaughter of Henry VII. Lady Mary had married without the monarch's consent, and as punishment was banished from court by Queen Elizabeth I and kept confined. Lady Mary remained at Chequers for 2 years. The room where she slept from 1565 to 1567 remains in its original condition. And they found a ring there, or there is a ring called the Chequer ring, and it's believed to have been owned by Elizabeth I. It has Anne Boleyn inside it, like it's got a secret compartment that opens up, and there's a image of Anne Boleyn. And it's an interesting thing because we don't think about Anne Boleyn and Queen Elizabeth, even though it's her mother, but it must have been that's it, like it must have been a very strange thing for Elizabeth to have lived her life with. She was her mother was executed by her father. Strange thing to live with, isn't it? Today, what's the other thing we're going to do? The other thing we have to do today is our weekly quiz. It's quiz day. So let's have a look at our quiz. Here we go. This is the weekly history quiz for September 30th to October 6th. So what major U.S. structure was dedicated by U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1935? Mount Rushmore, Hoover Dam, Panama Canal, Empire State Building. All those things are his time, but I cannot advance until I answer it. I haven't looked at this yet, so I'm playing along with you. I know I'm going to say Hoover Dam because that was his thing. I don't know about Mount Rushmore, but I know Hoover Dam. He started that, so I'm going to go with Hoover Dam. Panama Canal, you think? I'm thinking Hoover Dam because I know that was a make work project that Roosevelt started, so I'm going to go with that. It is Hoover Dam. What was the name of the major gathering of statesmen this week in 1814 that would redraw the map of Europe after the defeat of Napoleon? First Geneva Convention, Potsdam Conference, Congress of Vienna, Treaty of Paris. Well, now. The Treaty of Paris we talked about the other night. I think that's the end of the 7 Years' War. I don't think it's Potsdam Conference. First Geneva, Congress of Vienna. Congress of Vienna sounds familiar. I don't know. I don't know a lot of Napoleonic history. I'm going to go Congress of Vienna. Hey, I got 2 for 2. 2 for 2. In what year was the first baseball? Okay, not going to do well on this one. In what year was the first baseball World Series game when the Pittsburgh Pirates beat Cy Young's Boston Americans 7-3? No idea. I'm going to say it's in the 1900s. 1903 or 1908. 1903. Up! 3 for 3. Who called Russia a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma in 1939? You must know the answer to this one. So that's a thing. We may have to move this quiz to Friday because there may be a thing coming up that we haven't looked at yet. Of course, we know the answer to this one because we just talked about it. It's Winston Churchill. What was the first James Bond film called starring Sean Connery, which premiered this week in 1962? It was The Golden Gun, wasn't it? No, Casino. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Come on, guys. You guys know this one. I don't know. The Man with the Golden Gun was my first instinct, but I really don't know now that I think it's Casino Royale. Anybody know? I don't know. I think it's the first one that jumped out at me was The Man with the Golden Gun, but Dr. No? I think it's Casino Royale. I don't know. No, it's Dr. No. You were right, Astrax. What is the name of the Prussian Prime Minister Otto von Bismarck's famous speech delivered this week in 1862? Rivers of Blood. No, that was not Oswald Mosley. What's the other guy? Anyway, it's not Rivers of Blood. Farewell to the Old Guard. I offer hunger and death, blood and iron. I don't know. I know it's not Rivers of Blood. Don't know. Blood and iron. I'm leaning towards. It is Blood and Iron. Sinead O'Connor ripped up a picture of who on TV show Saturday Night Live in 1992? I know the answer to this one. I remember watching it live. Pope John Paul II, Margaret Thatcher, George H.W. Bush, or Jerry Adams? I'll leave you with that to catch up with me. I know the answer to this one. Any ideas? The Pope. Yes, it was. Hello, Bruce. How you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. It is Pope John Paul II. 100% right. What was Sputnik 1 launched by the Soviet Union in 1957? I think we all know this one. The first rocket to take pictures from outer space, first artificial satellite, first lunar probe, first human space mission. I think we all know this one, don't we? It is the first artificial satellite. Suleiman the Magnificent ascended to the throne of what empire in 1520? The Grand Duchy of Moscow, Persian Empire, Ottoman Empire, Mongol Empire. I know the name Suleiman the Magnificent, and I think it's the Ottoman Empire. I'm not up on this history, but I'm pretty sure it's Ottoman Empire. It is. How old was actor James Dean when he died in a car crash this week in 1955? Is he a member of the 27 Club? I think he is. 21, 24, 27, or 31. He wasn't 31. I think he's a member of the 27 Club, isn't he? You got Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix. I think he's in the 27 Club. No, 24. I thought for sure he was in that. Well, I did pretty good. I got 8 out of 10. Average score on this one is 6.6. So we might have to move this to another day. We might get answers to things that we haven't discovered yet, because it's what is it, to the 6th, and we're only at the 1st. So our quiz might be letting things out of the bag that I want to talk about in the future, in future episodes of our live stream. So, was there anything else I needed to cover here today? The quiz, Coombe Hill. So that's great. I'm really happy that was that you, Asterix, that was asking about the monument on the hill in the Chequers photo. I'm glad I found out about that. I want to learn more about that. The Second Boer War is interesting. I remember a buddy of mine in his basement. He had a rifle up on the hung up in the rafters in his basement, and I said, I didn't recognize the gun. I admire old military firearms, and the Lee Enfield. Every house in Newfoundland has a Lee Enfield British rifle in it. It's a funny thing. Every Newfoundlander I know has 3 guns in their house, and we just don't have those issues in Canada that they have in the States. Everybody owns a gun, but it's a hunting rifle. It's not It's not something for taking over the government or killing your fellow man. Although that does happen, but you know, it's not something that doesn't happen. But yeah, it's anyway. My friend had a rifle up on the in the rafters of his basement, and I looked at it, and it looked a lot like a British Lee Enfield rifle, but it didn't. It might have actually been Lee Enfield, but it wasn't the model that I know, the classic 303 that was used in World War One and World War Two, which, as I said, every household in Newfoundland had one when I was growing up. Um, anyway, I didn't recognize it, and I said, "What is that?" He said, "Oh, it's my grandfather's gun." And I said, I don't recognize it. Where's it from?" And he said, "He fought in the Boer War." And I'm like, "Whoa, wow, the Boer War. Wow." So yeah, our guys, Newfoundlanders, fought in the Boer War as well, apparently. We were part of Britain, so we fought in all your wars, our wars. Um, yeah, and it was just so odd to hear that somebody I knew, their grandfather fought in the Boer War. You know, because most of our grandfathers were the First World War age, but it was only a dozen years before, 10 years before, whatever it was. Um, it just seems like so much longer ago, but it's not really. Um, anyway, I digress again. But hey, it's my job. Anyway, is there anything else we need to talk about here tonight? I think that's it. Yeah, I'm really glad that came up about the Combe Hill. I'm Coombe, Coombe. I don't know. Anyway, I'll definitely have to look into that, and I hope to get down there. I don't get down to that part of the world much, uh, but I'd like to get down there and have a look at that and do a video about that. Anyway, it's very interesting. And that, oh, we need to show our next where is it photo, don't we? Um, this is our where is it photo for next time. There's Checkers, and there's the thing up on the Coombe monument that you spied there. Good eye, Astrax. This is our photo for next tomorrow. Where is it? This is it's actually a video that I took. It's a very short video. And this was when we first moved here, and we went to this place. I'm not going to tell you where it is, but it was so memorable. We had just got a new car, and we have never owned a new car. Never, never, ever. Well, we owned one new car, but it was secondhand. It was in its model year. What year was that? 2007, 2006, I think. Anyway, it was within the year it was made that we owned it, but it was secondhand. So the first time we've ever, well, we didn't own this car, we were leasing it, but it's the first time we ever owned had a new car, which we were leasing. And we went to this place, and there's like a little car park, and it was the first trip we had taken in the car, in the brand new shiny car with the still had the new car smell and all that. First trip, And when I left this place and went to the car park to get in, somebody had put a big dent in the door, big dent and a big scrape down the door. No note, no nothing. Horrible, heartbroken. You know what a new car is like. You know, when, even if it's not a new car, when you first get a car. Anyway, it was horrible. It was very sad. Anyway, that's our photo for our next live stream tomorrow. We'll have a video sort of related to that. And let's see if you can figure out where it is. Anyway, thanks for dropping by. We'll see you tomorrow. And thanks for coming by again. And we'll see you in the next one.